Welcome back, everybody. I'm Monkey C, and today we'll finish out this offseason by entering the NFL draft. And this feels like a draft that we really need to do well in, especially at the quarterback position. As always, thank you guys so much for being here. Please like the video and subscribe for more content like this, and I'm thankful for all of you who have subscribed so far. In my last video, I had a chance to show you how I attacked free agency and planning through my approach this offseason. So feel free to go check that out as well, as we'll jump right into it. And today really feels like a boom or bust moment for us in this draft, as the Jacksonville Jaguars own the number 1 pick and are on the clock. Before going into the selection, I did private workouts with some players, and Bryce Shaw is one of them at 90%. I think he has potential to play both center and guard at this size. He had a pretty good combine and could be a viable option in the 3rd or 4th round. Devin Pryor is a guy that I like a ton. Great size and very athletic, being the fastest lineman in the class. And I knew I couldn't get him to 100%, but I wanted to get as much information as possible, and this will certainly suffice. Thaddeus Combs did go up to 100%, and he's got 1st to 2nd round true talent, and most definitely a player that we can pick in the 2nd round pending how the board falls. He's a really good player, and I'm excited for this draft, so let's get into it. Back to the Jacksonville selection, and the Jaguars with their first pick, and they go with Dominique Hodgins, an edge rusher with the first pick. And a shocking one because he wasn't projected as a number 1 pick in any mock drafts. As the Raiders go with Xavier Rhodes, who was a very good corner, and now we'll get to see him twice a year. Cleveland was projected edge rusher or quarterback, and they go quarterback Zach Ford out of Georgia Tech, as they are ready to move ahead from Deshaun Watson. Commanders may take a quarterback as well, but instead they take Dylan Childress, a left tackle, and now the board is all over the place. Cardinals on the clock, and they select Jamie Rudolph, who was projected number 1 pick in the mock draft 4, but he falls to 5 today. Panthers take Brody Wilbur, a tackle, and they'll shore up the offensive line for Bryce Young. As the Steelers will also take a tackle in Chad Hayes, and now the quarterbacks are falling once again. The Bears lost Justin Fields in free agency, and they'll take a quarterback, Henry Smith from Georgia Tech, and they rely on him to be the quarterback of the future as the Bears head back into a rebuild. Patriots on the clock, and they go with Alejandro Costa, who was my favorite defensive end, and he'll go to New England. Seattle could go quarterback here, and we'll roll the dice as they go with defensive end Josh Watkins from Washington, so he'll stay in the state where he played college ball. Falcons select Matt Watkins, the first wide receiver off the board, and he too will go back to the state where he played in college, and the Falcons add another playmaker to their offense. Bucs are on the clock, and they go with a left tackle. They drafted a quarterback last year, and now they'll look to protect him going forward. As the Lions take an edge rusher in Adrian Allen to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. And the Rams directly after that take a tackle of their future in Jere Clements. 2 more picks before us, and I'm just hoping that the quarterbacks fall at this point, as the Jets will take a defensive end here. And the Titans pick before ours, and they go with Eddie Watts, who is the best receiver in my opinion. Now with our pick, we played the waiting game and we won't wait any longer. It has been and always was going to be Spencer Bayer, and the thing that drew me to him is how he handles pressure, which matters in CPU versus CPU games. I also love his accuracy in all 3 levels, honestly. So even if he is a normal development player, we can figure out how to develop him. But he's hit in development, and we may have found our franchise quarterback. I'm excited about this pick, and I feel like we did enough to help him succeed in his first year. But we'll see. As the Bills on the clock here, and they take a corner in Jermaine Wimbley, and keep in mind we still pick again in 4 picks. As the Saints take their quarterback in Jared Davis, who we'll see if he was worth the pick later on. And the Giants also take a quarterback, and that finishes the run for top quarterbacks available in this class. As the Vikings pivot to an edge rusher, Tyree Stevens, who I thought was the best pass rusher in the class, but we're back on the clock. and I thought about trading back or at least entertaining it, but I learned from last season to just draft my guy and trust my gut. So I'm not going to waste any time here because it was always Tony Colvin to be my guy with this selection. Just an incredible athlete, and he does everything on the field in the secondary. And hidden development with almost every athletic category being above a 90, and he's already a great player only at 20 years old. I feel like we already won the draft, but we still have a lot of work to do, as the Chargers with their first pick in the draft go with defensive end Braden Singh. Colts shore up their offensive line here with Jack Harris, and the Ravens follow suit by taking a right tackle. As another tackle is taken by the Packers, and they take Danny Taylor. They run on tackles as the Bengals are on the clock, and they select a defensive tackle, which makes sense since they lost both DJ Reader and BJ Hill this offseason. Niners take a center in John Linder, and the Cowboys on the clock now, and they go with a receiver, Frank Spears. Division rival Chiefs with their first pick, and they take an edge rusher in Chandler Bowman. He was my second favorite edge rusher, and somehow the Chiefs did it again. Eagles stay true in their draft process, taking an offensive lineman and someone from Georgia, and the Super Bowl champion Miami Dolphins select Georgia center Jason Simpson. Here in the second round, my focus was picking a nose tackle, and Marquis Tompkins is my favorite in the class. I don't want to give up any more picks since I do want to draft some guys in this class, so I'm going to stay put for now. Just 9 picks away, hoping that he falls, as the Lions take a guard here. I would really consider moving up for a trade if it gets closer. But the Rams decided to take him, and now we'll need to pivot our strategy with this next pick. Pick before us is the Vikings, as the Giants went with a guard, and the Vikings select another edge rusher to go with their first round pick. As I'm going through the list, I just don't have anyone here that is in my favorite list that is a must-take guy. I thought about taking Thaddeus Combs, but this pick has so much value that could help us next year as well, so I think we can consider trading down. The trade finder didn't give me any good deals, so manually I wanted to trade with the Bucks for their third rounder next year and this year. And that trade goes through, and we'll just let the board fall where it may, as the Bucks use this pick for a safety. And the Chargers are back on the clock, and they will also take a safety here. And the Colts took a tackle earlier, and they'll take a running back, as the Ravens will take Thaddeus Combs, and we'll see if we missed out on him after the draft. Jumping into the third round, as the Falcons took another receiver. And with this pick, I was between 2 players. It's Devin Pryor, the guard who we know is an incredible athlete, or do we go with a defensive tackle, which is a need in Tevin Johnson, who had a very good combine. Both are incredibly good in this spot with high value, but I just love taking offensive linemen, and it would feel weird not to try and see what Pryor can be in our system. So we'll go with Pryor, and he's got hidden development, and this might help our situation with Carlos Williams' struggles last year, and I'm excited to see him protect our new quarterback, as Bryce Shaw, who had a private workout with us, gets taken a few picks later. And now Tevin Johnson goes to the Giants, so our 4th round pick should be interesting. In the 4th round, I still needed to get younger in the pass rushing position, so I traded with the Saints to move up a few spots. I was between 2 defensive ends. First one is Corey Branch, who has good size and a pretty decent combine, but his injuries scare me a bit. Tyquan Hawley is younger and a very good athlete, and I think the upside would be basing it off of him being a better athlete at this point. And he has a better injury grade, so Tyquan Hawley is our pick, and unfortunately he is our first normal development player, and we'll see if we made the right choice later on. We do have another 4th round pick, as the Chargers select a guard here to protect Herbert, and with our pick I have 3 guys in mind. First is Corey Branch, which I already spoke about, and a running back here. Luke Pritchett would be a nice pairing with Banks, He did fairly well in his combine, and solid speed scares me just a bit, but he's got A's in so many categories. And the other guy is Martin Nixon. He's got great size for a corner who I could convert to safety, and he did very well in his combine. And his attributes show that he can tackle well, play zone, and press. I think the best route is taking the best player available, and that's Nixon in my opinion. And he's the pick, and he's got hidden development with this pick. I think we might have one of the best secondaries in the league now. In the 5th round, most of our guys are off the board. Otherwise, I would have taken that running back. But there's a very fun player I want to take a shot here, and it's Brian Correa. He's a massive 6'8" playing tight end, but he's also a very good athlete. He was almost first in every category, but the hesitancy is the injury factor, and there's a lot of potentials for Fs for his player skills, but I'm looking at the potential of what he could be. And he's got hidden development as well. Certainly a project for us, but I'm excited to see how we can develop him. Fast forward to our 6th round pick, it's to add more depth to our offensive line. And I'm taking a pretty athletic 342-pound offensive lineman. So JD Sabin will be our pick to fill out the roster. And the 7th round, I went with a rookie punter because we still need one, and the board truly didn't have much to offer at this point. So this pick will wrap up the draft for us, and I had tons of fun doing it, especially when it challenges my thought process. But how did we do, and who did we miss out on? Okay, there's quite a few things to discuss here. Starting with our quarterback of the future, Spencer Bayer. Hidden development, but still needs a lot of work to grow into a franchise quarterback. But his accuracy is pretty good to start off. To me, it's a win because we took someone who I can trust and rely on in the pocket. My only qualm with him is that he doesn't like being here, but we don't need to be concerned about that for another 5 years. Tony Colvin is the second player we took in the 1st round at a true 78 overall. He's only 20 years old, and already he's going to make a huge impact with him and Surtain as a 1-2 punch. We also have Hufanga and Barrington as well. This is going to be a dangerous secondary, which we need facing Mahomes and Herbert twice a year. 3rd round pick is Devin Pryor, who I'm already a fan of, and can certainly start now. I think Carlos Williams is going to be a backup lineman for us. It just hasn't worked out, and that's how fast your career can transition in the league, and Pryor is a starter off the gate. The next guy is a huge swing and miss for me. I focused too much on Holly's athleticism, and it might have blinded me from all the things he can't do on the field. And now there's a question of whether he can see the field or even make the team. We already spoke on a corner we drafted earlier, but Martin Nixon was a solid hit. I would envision him more as a safety than a corner, and we now have 6 different guys that we can rotate in the secondary, and pretty much we're set for the future in that regards. The 5th round pick, a 60 overall, is not what I pictured when taking Brian Correa, and really it's the hidden development that's going to keep him on the team. He's a focus player for me when I do mini games, but long way before he gets to become a starter. But the potential is still there, especially at that size at 6'8". 6th round pick, we took a backup offensive lineman, and a 69 overall in the 6th round for a backup is very good. Sure, he doesn't have hidden development, but I think he's still a viable option if someone does go down. Last but not least, a punter in Joe Langley, and we just needed someone to fill the position unless we find someone better. But how did the rest of the draft go? Dominique Hodgins went number 1, but the number 1 player overall was the Raiders' 2nd overall pick, Xavier Rhodes. Huge miss there by the Jaguars and a home run for the Raiders. And the steal of the draft has to go to the Seahawks, who took the number 2 overall player in the 2nd round, as Tony Colvin was the 3rd best player in the class. This was a pretty good class, and some pretty big misses by me, but at the same time, I didn't have enough draft capital to be picking a ton of players either. But I certainly missed on some guys, and here's some examples of them. Marquis Tompkins was picked a few picks before us, and he could have been a menace in our defense, but unfortunately, the Rams snagged him and his hidden development from us before we could even try. We traded back the 2nd round pick to pick up a 3rd next year with the Bucks and passed on Thaddeus Combs, also a 73 overall like Tompkins, and also hidden development, but I don't regret it. The third round pick that I missed out on is another defensive tackle in Tevin Johnson, opting for Devin Pryor instead. And he's a 72 overall, which is still pretty good. And yep, he's got hidden development as well. So some pretty bad misses there by me, which I will take ownership there. But this has to be the worst one out of all of them. I took Tyquan Holly, who isn't even a 65 overall, and passed on Luke Pritchett, who's a 75 overall running back, in the 5th round. And you guessed it, hidden development. Feel free to comment on my misses. I definitely deserve it. More importantly, it's a quarterback conversation though. We know Bayer is hidden development at 71 overall. But the first quarterback selected was Zach Ford, who's a 75 overall. He's got hidden development, but I was very concerned with how he handles pressure. He's very accurate, but being trigger happy when sensing pressure made me pull the trigger on him even if I was picking early. Second quarterback selected is 8th overall Henry Smith, and it would have been a tight decision between him and Bayer if I was put in a position to pick either one. I do like his potential, and he does have a decent arm, but I'm pretty happy with our guy that we took. It's also interesting that he's a scrambling quarterback that doesn't have that much speed. Jared Davis was the 4th quarterback taken in the first round, 19th overall, and yikes, he's got normal development. It was easy for me to decide not to take him because he's oblivious to pressure. But which would you rather have, a hidden development lower overall quarterback, or a normal development with higher overall? Like Aaron Silverman, who's a 71 overall and has hidden development, but also oblivious to pressure, so there's no shot I would even consider taking a guy like this. So I'm happy about the quarterback decision, but you guys can feel free to let me know what you think. We'll also skim through our divisional opponents' drafts, as the Chargers did a really good job to solidify their defense, and Braden Singh was someone I liked, and we'll play him twice a season now. Raiders had a heck of a draft going with a top player in the class and picking a high overall safety as well. But the question is whether their offense is good enough. And last but not least, the Chiefs, who we'll be chasing after, and they really built up their defense quite a bit with this draft. And I can't wait to face them to see how we'll do. Speaking of, here is our schedule for the upcoming season, and we'll open up against those Chiefs and see them in week 3 as well, so we'll have to stay locked in pretty early on in the season. It doesn't get easier as we'll get the Chargers, Texans, and Cowboys directly after, before our bye week. Then the Steelers, Lions, and Colts before the divisional matchup against the Raiders. In week 15, we'll see the rookie Aaron Silverman, so that's going to be a fun matchup, rookie versus rookie. And we'll close it out against the Titans. We really need to end with divisional matchups in Madden. I won't have a preseason episode, so we'll start with week 1. And truthfully, I'm not sold on throwing the rookie out in week 1 against such an elite team like the Chiefs. So my guess is Winston will have the start, and if he struggles, we can consider throwing Bayer in. But you can let me know what you think. I signed some veteran guys to fill out the roster, and I thought it'd be pretty awesome to have Bryce Callahan come back to Denver. We really rebuilt the secondary unit, so it should be fun for him to help us develop our guys. I also snagged 2 undrafted receivers so we can be younger at the position and fill in just in case of injury, so we'll develop them to see if they can turn out to be more. I'm ecstatic about this year. We have one of the best defenses in the league, a new quarterback that we can develop to be our franchise guy, and I think we have everything it takes to make it back to the playoffs and go further than we did last season. We'll need more pieces when the season progresses, but I certainly think we got better than what we were last year. This roster is now up to date after preseason and cuts, and it's just a matter of putting it all out there on the field and getting the job done. Here's a preseason clip of what you can look forward to when watching the rookie Spencer Bayer as he makes his first throw in preseason. And he'll be wearing the number 3, so his nickname can be SB3. And the potential is certainly there, as you can see. We just got to remain patient and positive, but that's a beautiful ball for his first throw ever in the NFL. But that will wrap up the offseason and preseason episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and being here, and please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and feel free to comment on what you think of the draft. Next episode is week 1 against the Chiefs, and I can't wait for it to be here. Till next time, I'm Monkey C, and I'm out.